Good morning. Let's do a get ready with me and kind of run around the house and try to get a bunch of things done today and organized and unpacked, and I have a lot of unboxing to do. Back for a minute. I use this roller. It's the same one that I take with me when I travel, and it feels nice and just gets a little bit off right now of the skin and wakes it up a little bit. I have nothing on right now. I'm sure you can tell. I'm going to get my makeup ready because there is a meeting tonight that I'm going to in my neighborhood. I kind of want to be semi-presentable because my neighbors only ever see me coming in and out with luggage. I don't think they know what the heck I do, but I don't think I do anymore either. I feel so good. Don't mind my nails. I actually have everything off right now. I'm just having like a really just pure week kind of vibe of let my body, skin, nails do what it's gonna do. One of the things I've been doing is playing one of Travis's old guitars a lot that I still had. I haven't really wanted nails so that I can actually just like play. Me and the girls actually went and saw Beetlejuice on Sunday night, and it really reminded me, well, it was really cute actually. We did a screening here at my house of the first one, and it was really cozy and nice, and then we went and saw the new one in the theater. It reminded me of that Ryan Adams song, This House Is Not For Sale, that is about the original Beetlejuice couple, and it was just one of my favorites that always reminds me of Travis too. So I felt like I really wanted to play guitar for the first time in a while after I got home that night, and so since then I've just been playing a lot and it's been helping a lot. I'm really glad that I kept one of his old guitars. It was one of his favorites, and it has a lot of like our old bandanas and things on it. I did do one of my Korean sheet masks this morning when I was having my coffee in bed, so I do have a little bit of moisture on my skin right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and start right with this concealer. This is the one that I think is really popular right now from what I can tell. It's the Hourglass. I don't even think I'll do foundation today. I'll probably just do this and some powder. This brush is so beat up, but I love it. It's an old Tarte brush. I like 2-in-1 brushes because I don't like to carry many things. I just put it everywhere like foundation. And then I use this side to buff it out because I really don't have any foundation on that side right now. Drag it down a little bit. I have been back in the US this whole summer. It's been good. I feel like I really did the US. Been to New York, DC, Atlanta, California, up and down. I don't really know where to start. I guess I came back in May from Lisbon. I don't think it deserves too much of a going into, but to just basically gloss it over in a way that I think is healthy and like should be spoken about, of like my choices to leave Lisbon and exit that relationship quite swiftly were valid. It's something that I knew was going on internally, but I kind of calculated like what was going on and what the options were in that situation to just kind of gloss over it and get into it so that it segues to where we are now, which far more important things have happened and changes in my life that really matter. I knew that things were not going well because communication was not there, and it never was there. The person that was my partner was deeply flawed, had a lot of personal issues that I was aware of, and tried to be a partner and, you know, at the end of the day, a friend to someone who was going through those emotional things. He was not receptive to them. He was the opposite direction. He was quite cruel to me in return, which was hard to deal with when you see what is going on. Like, I'm not a perfect person. I didn't have a perfect childhood. I didn't have a perfect upbringing. I've not had the best experiences as an adult. Things I feel I've had to learn and grow through and take a personal accountability for. As someone who was older, I didn't think that these conversations needed to be had. He had a high pressure job, so he had responsibility, but I was observing that the way he was treating me was not isolated to me. Like, he treated his crew that way. He treated family that way. He treated workers, staff, anywhere we went in a manner that I did not agree with. It slowly turned more and more on me. It's really unfortunate that he's dealing with the things he deals with. They were not a reflection of me, and they needed to have a line in the sand of communication and healing on his part that he was not willing to do. Day to day, he would be very critical of me, and because of the situations we were in and being remote all the time, I did not feel like little things were worth it. I'm not the one to bicker. I don't like that. I just would rather keep peace all the time. I internalize a lot of things. I know I'm like that. It doesn't really bother me. I think with anyone else in his life, this behavior probably has not been able to go this far. But with me, it was a lot easier for him to act this way, because it just, the day-to-day evaluation of like, do I bring this up or do we just have a nice day in Italy today? It just didn't seem worth it to me, even though like the criticisms were completely not okay. Like, I'm not making excuses for talking to your partner like this ever. In my rationale and trying to see him for the bigger picture and trying to be compassionate and empathetic to his experience and what led him to become that way towards other people and himself, because I mean, this is a reflection of someone beating themselves up if they're constantly criticizing their partner in ways that really just weren't valid. Like, not to get so into the nitpicky of it, it was day to day of sunglasses didn't look good on me, my makeup didn't look good, my shoes were ugly like shit. That was a thing that he would say often, ugly like shit, something that he didn't like that was on me. I couldn't eat fish right. I didn't know how to drive. Yeah, it just would be constant things that would come up, and that would completely throw me off guard, because this is someone who would be 110% caring and loving and giving, and then in the same sentence just tell you that something is completely just off about you in that moment and they're just disgusted and repulsed by you. Like, things like that constantly every day that I knew were not normal behavior. He was not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect person. But the things that nitpicked and bothered me about him, I wouldn't just like, I don't talk to people that way. And we're just different people, but I just don't see that as a okay thing to treat another person that way. But it was not just me. He was really critical with staff. If someone served him his food wrong, if someone did like ordinances on the plane wrong, like his crew members, he would be incredibly critical, call them stupid behind their back, and I don't know how he treated them to their face, but very aggressively mean, and had really bad relationships with his family that he was trying to repair. All of these things were just kind of obvious to me. The way you're coming at me is just not valid. I should not be internalizing this, because I don't really think a lot of this is true, but I'm still putting up with it day to day and I'm living abroad with it. This needs to be addressed at some point. And as our relationship progressed, I started to kind of internalize in my own feelings of like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but X, Y, and Z needs to happen before we do any of that. Like, we need to have a talk about your behavior, because is this something I need to settle for? Are you always going to be like this towards me? Because I don't think it's warranted. And I think it's a lot of pressure on me for absolutely no reason. And there was a lot of just cruel behavior that would happen. I would sometimes go from California all the way to Lisbon within 24 hours, and I would get there and sometimes the flight wouldn't be very comfortable or something would have happened and I'd just be tired or I'd be on my cycle. And he would always chastise me for wanting to take a nap when I arrived. If he came to the States, he would sleep for the whole day and I would just be like, okay, cool. And then when I eventually brought these things up, we were in Brazil and we had a crew call at 1:30 in the morning. Brazil did not sit well with me. A lot of things that happened in the area, we were in, I felt were dangerous situations that he put me in without care towards me. and kind of in a cruel way to see what my limits were. We were in a cafe, for instance, and I took my phone and my sunglasses and went to the buffet, and he said something to me about it, and I was like, well, you probably shouldn't leave your stuff on the table. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing is wrong with me. I just don't think that's a safe idea. So I walk off and I turn around and I see him like discreetly like pick his things up off the table too. And I was like, why did you fight with me about general safety? This isn't healthy. This is weird. He did the same thing on another street. This group on the street started popping balloons to see if I would react. And of course I did. And he started laughing at me and said, what's wrong with you? And I was like, well, do you realize I'm like, A, the only female on the street, and B, the only one who looks like me. Like, I know that you are native tongue to these people, so like you could communicate with them, but like what happens if things go sideways? Like, do you realize that like that we need to kind of watch out? He was super cruel to me about it. Why would you say that? What's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm here, like clearly I'm willing to be here, but like you can't just be completely aloof. So I was already kind of not pleased with how Brazil had gone. Like there was other issues, like the water in the hotel was like destroying my hair and skin, and we were there for 6 days, and like so I had not really properly bathed in like 6 days. I was kind of getting really miserable. Like I just felt kind of trapped in Brazil, and I was still trying to be really positive because I was like, okay, well there's a time limit on this. We will go home to Lisbon, you know, so just get through it. So we woke up for that 1:30 call time. I just felt in my gut and way I behave and treat others was that why would you not be kind to me at 1:30 in the morning when this is for you? This is your job, this is your life. I am organizing things, getting things ready to make sure that you get out the door and fine and everything is okay on time. I get up and I'm like packing things away, and he was like, oh, go brush your teeth. And I was like, oh yeah. So I went to brush my teeth, and like my timer's on 3 minutes, so I just did like a quick brush around. I didn't do the full timer because I was like, we gotta be out this door. So I just like grabbed my things and like went and was like putting it all away. He was like, you didn't brush your teeth right again. And I was like, again, like, what are you saying? We gotta go. And he was just like, personal hygiene's important. I don't know what's wrong with you. And I was like, what? Like, it's 2 in the morning. Like, we gotta go. And so we're downstairs, and I tried to bring it up to him again. I was like, hey, I didn't really like that you talked to me that way. Like, it's 2 in the morning. Like, I'm gonna get on the plane. Like, I'm gonna completely scrub up again before we get off the plane. It's a 9.5-hour flight. Like, what is your deal? Like, cause I would be in the business pod thing and just completely redo my life in there too. And he said, I will not talk to you about this. You know you're in the wrong. And I was like, okay, well, we're not speaking anymore. So we get back to Lisbon, and I'm still refusing to speak to him because I just needed time, and I was tired and everything. And I knew that he was tired because he'd flown all night. After he'd taken a nap, I came back and I was like, hey, we need to speak. Like, we need to talk about how you communicate to me. Long story short, he told me, I want to stay with you, but you need to behave. And I said, what are you saying to me right now? That's not how you speak to somebody. He immediately went into, we need to go to dinner. And I told him, we're not going to dinner. I don't want to go to dinner with someone who doesn't like me and speaks to me like they don't like me. And he was like, well, you saying I like you? Like, I don't understand that at all. And I was like, that's the problem. And then he told me that I was manipulative and that I acted like his mother, which was all just very unsafe and uncomfortable things to say to somebody. Like, you're grown, who cares how your mother acts? And that was like he was deeply flawed. And I knew it. I just couldn't do it anymore because I had kept making excuses. Like, the way he behaved in Brazil was how he behaved every day, everywhere we went. But that's just kind of the catalyst of when I finally stood up about it and was like, nothing right now is okay. This entire trip, you've been not very safe as a partner, and now you're criticizing me when I'm trying to get you to work. And getting him to work was always a thing, like running around, looking for his lapels, looking for his tie, where's my hat? Like, all these things to just go fly a plane. And I'm like, maybe you shouldn't be flying the plane. None of this was like new behavior. I just had enough of it. he's not getting it. He's just wanting to place the blame on me and stay together. And I'm just kind of shocked. Like, I can't believe this is how communication is going with a 40-year-old. All of this is to say that none of this is a safe thing. None of this is okay behavior from a partner. Should have cut it off a long time ago. I tried to communicate as adults. I thought that he would kind of see the error of his traumas and things and be able to process through it. I had a gut feeling that as soon as I finally stood up, this was what was gonna happen, and it did. You know, I had my answer. I realized that he was not gonna get it. He was telling me, you need to submit, you need to just deal with this behavior and accept your fault for my behavior and stay together like this. And so that was just like, I don't feel safe around you anymore. So I came back to the States and he was supposed to come here a week later. That kind of was open to me because, you know, that's my home. That is where you can't do all of that behavior. I took a flight, obviously, came back and slept in that day, went to yoga with the girls at like 7:30 that night. I get a text as I'm walking out of yoga because he was supposed to fly to Boston that night. I get a text saying, do you have my visa and passport? I need pictures of it. So immediately I just send it. And then I ask him, what's going on? Why? All he's doing is launching into, where is it? Where would it have been? I don't know where it is. Where's my bag? And it's a bag that he would keep with his flight logs and things in it. I tell him, I don't know, last time I saw it was like in your trolley. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know where it would be. Like, I don't know. And he says something along the lines of, well, I had it to put my flight logs in. And in my brain, I was like, yeah, I saw you do that. And he's like, how could you have seen me do it? You're not here. And I was like, well, I saw you do that like a few days ago. Like, I saw you put flight logs in it. And he's like, well, you're lying and this isn't helping. And I was just like, why are you contacting me at all? None of this is my problem. I already sent you the documents. You are a pilot. Do not show up to fly a plane without your passport or your visa. I was like, I took an international flight today. What is wrong with you? That was kind of like the kicker for me of, this is fully done. I do not want to be in contact with this person. Fast forward to me explaining this to one of Travis's best friends and one of my best friends. When he's asking me about like what happened here with all of this, I was telling him the story and all he said back to me was one word. He goes, jackass. And I was like, I've never heard that word used so appropriately. Like, that's really funny. Like, he was just a straight up jackass to me. Yeah, not to, you know, whine about this so much. So much else has happened and it was God's way to remove this individual from my life. This is just kind of a cautionary of like, if someone's talking to you like that and treating you like that, it will escalate. It does not get better. That's their own journey and that's their own problems, and get the heck out. There's more things that I like, not gonna get really into about reports I've had to make about him. When I made reports about him and his behavior and things that kind of made me feel unsafe, well, there is another that I know of a report that has been made about him and in another state in Brazil from an ex. It's not good. It's much more escalated. Verbal abuse like that will lead to physical abuse, and that's all I'm gonna say about that because reports have been made and I don't know if there's gonna be more aftermath of that. I think our things are closed and done because I'm just away and it's fine and I've made it known. You know, it's not gonna stop him from treating someone else that way or things escalating, so I'm not gonna get too much into that, but it is just a cautionary tale of like, this will not stop. If someone behaves that way, they're only masking who they are, and that only goes on so long. Like, people really cannot hide who they truly are. I don't have a bad feeling at all about the places we went, like other than the Brazil situation, but you know, everywhere else in Europe, Portugal was completely fine. Portugal has been very communicative with me, like all the authorities that I've spoken to and the businesses that I've had contact with, they've all been wonderful. It's a very safe country. So that's been good. I don't have a bad experience with Portugal at all. I'm grateful for all my time there and everything I learned and experienced there. This just kind of needed to be glossed over in regards to where we are today and things that have happened, because if I didn't kind of explain getting back here, then it wouldn't explain how we're here now. Last May, I got a message from Justin, who is my ex-fiance's best friend, that Travis, my ex-fiance, was in the hospital. He was in liver failure and that I should probably come. At this point, we had been broken up like 4 years, even though we had talked on and off and stayed in touch, and I had always kept tabs on him through other tribal members to know how he was doing, or if he was improving, or if he was, you know, just getting it together or not. Like I wanted to hear that he had moved on. I wanted to hear that he had purpose. It just wasn't happening. I was kind of always living with that and living with the feeling of there's nothing I can do though. Like I have my own journey. I have a life to establish. I have things I want. I want a present partner. I want a good parent to co-parent with. And he wasn't doing those things, so I didn't want to keep shutting myself out from potentially having them. For some backstory, my ex-fiance, his name is Travis Alciola. He is part of the Miccosukee tribe. They are based in South Florida. I started to know everyone within the tribe during college because I went to college in Miami, and I was really involved with the Miami Heat for a little while, and they were part owner in the Miami Heat, or sponsor or something. They had a big foothold there. So I would be at the arena quite a lot, and the tribe had a suite there, so I ended up hanging out there a lot. There was a lot of people my age. Travis was one of them. We became very close, and we stayed together for like 4 years on and off, and we got engaged twice. I tried really hard. He just wasn't finding purpose. He was not finding something to make him happy and fulfilled. I had a big group of friends with him. I still do. Even though I was a bit distant, we're all social media friends. We all see each other around the country. We all talk. They all reach out to me if anything was wrong with him. And they knew that he was always trying, but he was too deep when it came to his dependence on alcohol. And there was nothing that was in place at the reservation for him that was going to resonate with him to move on with his life and find purpose. Now that he's no longer with us, I can kind of talk freely about it. I can say how I really feel. I can say that certain things failed him and certain things shouldn't have gone the way they did. Without, you know, I'm not angry. I don't want to be angry. Doesn't change anything. I'm just trying to do the things that can change things so that this doesn't happen again to the next generation, because it is an epidemic, obviously. They're first generation wealth, and they still have a lot of trauma collectively, and he had a lot individually that just failed him. There's not things in place yet. I'm not saying that people aren't trying, that they are. There's a lot of good people, young people that are motivated to change this narrative, but unfortunately he was a victim of it. And so last May, I heard that he had gone into the hospital, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna come tomorrow. And within that time frame of me, that I was like, I'm not going to see him outside of the hospital. I'm going to talk to him in the hospital, because he needs to see the reality of this and that he has a chance to turn it around. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to come the next day. And then within that, he, whatever they call it, where he like self-checked out, like he straight up called an Uber and left the hospital. And then after that, I kind of had grieved at that point. I just like let it be, and I accepted it for what it is, because I lost my uncle during the pandemic, He was also struggling with alcohol and addiction, and he self-exited, and it was really hard. So I saw all of that go down, and I was there for it because me and my mom were the closest of kin. His marriage had gone apart, and he did not have children of his own, and my grandfather was too old to tell him the truth of that. So we were on his bedside when this all went down. So I knew how this could go, and I had seen it firsthand, and I wasn't prepared for it at 33. He was 34 now when he passed. Didn't think that that's where we were gonna go this young. Thought that I still had time to establish myself, take some time off, and try to clean him up one last time. I was going to go try last May, and he took himself out of the hospital. And that's when I grieved and knew I'm just gonna get a text one day. These are his choices. You cannot change people's choices. I always had a pit in my stomach that is today gonna be the day. Am I gonna get a text from somebody? Because I would intermittently get texts from tribal members that had seen him at the casino, or they had seen him at concerts, and they would say, hey, he looks really bad. And I'd tell them, you take him to rehab, you do something. I can't do it. I'm not gonna chase him. He's gonna lie to me, number one. He's not gonna tell me how bad things are because he's not gonna want me to know that. So there's nothing I can get from him. You need to be the one to do it. And it wasn't happening. So I just knew that any day is just gonna be the day that I am now having to grieve this and process this. And I kept trying to, know that this was coming. I was not obviously with the right partner to be allowed that space, and I knew that if this day was going to come, I dread that it's while I'm beside Phil, because he's gonna be just terrible to me about it, and it's gonna be just so much mentally to try to process, instead of being with a partner that's like, yeah, I'm really sorry that he took that path. Like, obviously you aren't part of that path anymore, but it's still deeply saddening, and told me to even communicate about it. He would never let me communicate. He always told me that my feelings were too much. Like, anytime I bring something up, he would just be like, oh, well, it's just your cycle. And I'd be like, my period was last week. Like, this has nothing to do with my period. Like, that's just weird and misogynistic to say to me. Like, just jet lagged. Like, why are you talking to me that way? I was never allowed to have feelings. So I was just always dreading that, like, this could happen and I would be there. Fast forward, I come back in May, and after like 2 weeks home, I get more texts from Talbert, who is a very close, special friend of mine in the tribe. We've been very close for years. We've always bonded over things going on, and we are very good at being a good partner to each other. We're always very close, and he always knew, as the chairman of the tribe currently, that when he gets information to his work phone about Travis, to let me know. About 2 weeks after I come home, I'm getting pretty much daily updates from him and other people of, like, he is going downhill. Like, he looks really bad at the casino. He wrecked his car. These things are happening. He was seen here, he was seen there. He's not making sense in text messages. That was the most that I had heard about things consistently. And I was like, oh my God, like, what are the odds that I'm like home now and this is all going down? I started reaching out to Travis, and we were having pleasant talks, but he was not willing to see me. He was kind of giving me the runaround. I kept telling him, like, I want to talk to you. And he'd be about what? And he'd call me, I'd be like, I don't want to talk to you on the phone. I need to talk to you in person. Wouldn't do it. We had said some nice things to each other, just, obviously he was intoxicated quite a bit, but, like, still, you're the love of my life, I'm sorry, all those things. And I, was able to tell him that I loved him and that I just needed to see him. I was starting to push for it a lot more, and that was like mid-May. I don't know how the months work. And then June. Yeah, so through like May and June. Luckily, when I'm home, it's very fun here, and so I threw like a really big 4th of July party. It wasn't really supposed to be like a big thing, but then it ended up being a really great time, and just a lot of people were home at the same time, so we all got together here and we had a really big day. It was so fun. my house was the epicenter of that, and I was host with, obviously my best friends were here and they were helping a lot, my parents, but it was kind of like me hosting this, and I get a message that morning from Justin saying Travis is in the hospital, he was taken to the ICU last night, I'm going there later, I don't know the status. And I was like, I have 26 people coming to my home right now. And so I just kind of like was processing it the whole day, and we were ending up at like the pickleball courts at like 9 p.m. and I'm like down in my phone trying to just shoot off a message to Justin real quick of like, okay, what's going on? Where are we? And Stacy was like, who's Justin? Like, you don't ever talk about it. And I was like, oh no, like this isn't any of that. And I like showed her the phone and she was like, oh my God, has this been going on today? And I was like, yeah, this is happening. The next day we were able to kind of assess what was going on. He was unresponsive. He wasn't doing well at all. He had been jaundiced again, but then I guess he had had a GI bleed, and then they were trying everything they possibly could to stabilize him in the hospital, and it wasn't happening. Like, he was in and out of consciousness, and it was just really going downhill. So I was starting to make arrangements that I knew I needed to come, hoping that I could still catch him in a moment where they were able to get him more stable and that he would be able to talk. I was on my way down to Miami when Justin told me that he had just gone into brain surgery. He had had a craniectomy by the time I got there, and I want to think that he knew we were in the room with him, but I'm not sure. By the time I was there, that's what was happening. Sorry, I just had to change my battery. Not a good time. That was the reality of what happens when things do get to this progressive stage of not caring for yourself and making those poor decisions. And it was really hard to go through again and see it face to face. I'm glad I got to see him and be there for Justin. Justin was there every day with him in the hospital. It went on for quite a bit. He went in on the 4th, he passed on the 18th. I was there the day of the craniectomy, and I think he went on for about 6 more days. It was a roller coaster. And it just was hard for everyone to process that this is happening, this is where we're at. It was just very odd the way that it all progressed this summer. Like, as soon as I got home, like, this is all that's been happening ever since. And yeah, like, I was disappointed in Phil and that partnership, but I was able to process it because I was like, well, then, like, you would have been terrible. I don't want to do this anyway, and I don't want to be with a pilot who can't even bring his passport to work, on top of all the other things that you just cannot self-manage. Like, never mind. And I don't want to have children with somebody who is just so strict and cruel and mean, and then have to make excuses for you all the time just because I want my life that badly. I was upset, but that have to kind of preface all of that to where we got to and how it just all escalated so quickly with Travis just going like that. And like I said, like, I know it sounds weird and long and a bit of a like saga, but we had been together most of my 20s, and I just expected that the way his life was and the way he behaved, like, he would make it to like 40-ish before I needed to have this kind of intervention. And by that time I would have been more stable and been able to take the time to assess it. And he gave me my answer, like, that was not going to happen. He gave all of us answers, like all of his best friends that were so worried, because now they don't have to worry about him. Now they know. It's not just this chaotic thing all the time of like, what can we do for him? We're all so worried and he's just better than this kind of thing. Because he was, like, he was hilarious, he was fun, he was so smart, he was naturally athletic, so I thought that his body would keep going. Like, I knew his liver was bad, but he was just, it's wild that like native genetics are so different. He's not good with alcohol, like their predisposition to not tolerating like alcohol or milk, they can't do milk either, is just because like evolution wise they haven't been exposed to it that much, and they like it doesn't work with them. But then his other natural genetic abilities were just wild. Like, he was so naturally athletic, he was so naturally strong, he was so naturally like astute and adept to the world and senses, and just his ancestral DNA was crazy. And he was so talented, and the world needed him and needed what he had to give. But I've really struggled with the fact that there isn't part of him now that we didn't have children, and as much as I wanted it, I just thought that it was selfish to do because I knew that he wasn't going to be the present parent that I want and deserve. Now I have to live with the fact that like part of him doesn't go on, and that's unfortunate because he had a lot that should still be here. And like his best friends both have children now, so I just think about the fact that they are not going to have kids of his to know. But it's just the reality of people's choices, because yeah, we could have a kid, and for the rest of that kid's life, he's just going to hear about how great his dad was and how fun his dad was, which is all true, but they're not going to tell him, yeah, but your dad would disappear. Your dad hurt people that he loved. And the reality is just people's choices are their choices. I don't know how many times I can say it. Like, the one thing I've learned about grief and things is that, like, all the cliches are true. Like, time heals everything, and it gets better every day, and you understand it more, and you let them go, and it's better. They're in a better place. They're out of pain. All the cliches are so true. And at first you don't want to hear them, and in time, they all make sense. And I just feel, in a way, liberated. I know it's like he did it as a gift, in a way, to everyone who's just worried all the time. Like, I don't have to worry all the time. I'm left with the aftermath, but I'm not left with explaining for the rest of my life. I had him while I did, and that's gotta be okay, you know? I think that in another life, like, he'll have a better go-round. He got failed by the system quite a bit. He got failed by members of his own family. I didn't know at 23 that I needed power of attorney. Like, I know now. Like, there's a lot of things that happened where he should have been forced into rehab. He should have this or that. I mean, at the end of the day, he's his own person, but there's just times where I should have made efforts that I didn't know that no one else was going to make. There's a lot of things to do with his money that I did not agree with. Like, I just always let it happen because I was always trying to be respectful of his elders and what they wanted. I think ultimately a lot of that killed him. I know I'm not wrong in saying that. I feel that things could have gone differently for him, and hopefully for the next generation they do. I'm still very good friends with a lot of members of the tribe, very good friends with Talbert. We've spent most of this summer going to different events together around the country, and I've been very grateful for that because we've always been good partners to each other, and we know how to navigate each other's feelings and emotions and travel together and support each other. I don't think we want necessarily all the same things at this moment, and that's okay. We're really good at supporting each other, and we both needed each other a lot this summer. He's in his 3rd year as the chairman, so I typically go along to a lot of different events that we have mutual interests in, like in DC when they're trying to protect the Everglades and their lands, and then they end up winning that. That was nice to be there for. And then in Orlando recently, we went to like a Democratic convention for the House of Representatives here in Florida, and that was really nice to just talk to people. And sometimes when I'm there, I know it makes a difference because some people don't know how to approach or talk to tribal members, and they like want to, they're eager to, and they're eager to help, but they don't really know how. So I know it does help when I'm there because they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, well, yeah. They have members who live in your city, and they have members who want to do things that your city's involved in. And it kind of, I know it helps me being there. Like, I know that I'm not a distraction by still being involved and helping where I can. And moving forward, I am a little bit 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, I care. I want things to be better in the future. I want what happened to Travis not to happen to the next generation. I don't want that generation to know those hardships. I mean, I'm from a low socioeconomic area of the South in Georgia, and Travis and I met as children in Georgia when we were 6 at a Civil War reenactment because his family did not have casino money at that era, and that was still a time where they traveled and they sold food at festivals and they worked the fields, and that was the few things that the government made accessible to them to even make a living. He grew up with memories of that. I have memories of those times of being in a very low socioeconomic area of South Georgia where times were hard and lean. We bonded over that, and those times don't really leave you just because all of a sudden you have casino money. They don't. And if you don't have the structure and the societal structure to protect from the downfalls of having money with trauma, then these are the things that happen. I don't want to be fully out of being within arm's length of anything that could be helpful. I'm really grateful that I still am in that position, even though it's very just ancillary to my entire world and my entire life. And throughout this process, I've learned that I can protect myself and I can say what I need and how I'm going to grieve and what I'm going to do and how I feel. And I feel like that has been respected, and I do appreciate that a lot. I feel like when I'm around and there's times that things come up that are beneficial to be at and helpful and fill my well up and help them, then that's great. And that's where I want to be for the rest of my life, of being able to be someone who kind of understands and is there. I feel like I've gotten that in return for the first time too. Like, a lot of people have been really kind to me about the fact that I loved him so much and knew that like he loved me so much. Moving forward, I think that there's still things I would have done different. There's still things that are really sad to me. I did not attend the funeral. So I knew that there was quite a few friends who needed that time to gather and see the family and talk to the family. And I had good moments in the hospital with the family. After that, there were things that I wanted to give the rest of everyone who cared their space, and like some of his best friends that wanted to be graveside and did not want a time limit to the time that they were gonna be able to spend with him. I felt like, yeah, you should do that. I don't need to be there for that. I can visit him anytime. I feel mixed because I know that he didn't want to be buried in the ground. I knew that he wanted to be in the cypress trees where he loved and the spot that he loved. It's just one of those things still that I kind of grapple with, of like not having had power of attorney, where I'm like, no, like I also kind of don't agree with the rush of the funeral and how things were handled, because yeah, he's with his community. Ultimately, that's not what he wanted. So I obviously will visit on my own time. I think I'll probably spread some of his things where he wanted to be. It's been really good though, overall, because a lot of us have come back together. I've been able to host a lot of our friends up here in Tampa. It's been nice for them to get away from their homes for a weekend or so. Like, I had everyone here for Labor Day. It was really fun. And it's good that, you know, I've had a lot of time to process this as his partner on and off over the years, of like how this was gonna go and like what our future looked like with the status of how his behavior was. For them, like, they lost a best friend. So I couldn't imagine not waking up and not being able to text my best friends. I don't know what they're really going through, other than just we've all been together. And I really appreciate that. It's been a wild summer, and that all just was God's way. And because now it's kind of wrapping up in a little bow of all the grief and the growth also, because I knew when I came back from Portugal that I wasn't really like stoked on coming back to America. I really enjoyed my time going around the country to all my favorite places and all like really beautiful places, but I don't really care to be here as far as like inflation, lack of healthcare, drama, violence. I'm just not into it right now. Now I'm like, okay, well, I know that these things in my life have all chapters closed, and you know, I'm still here, so I have to figure that out. And for me now, I was kind of evaluating that, like, yeah, I'm single, I don't want to date, like I don't see that happening right now. I don't see the need for it. I kind of I'm not looking, I'm not interested. Where's that going then? And I've realized that everywhere I've been in relationships has been someone else's, like, my country's the best tour, or you live on a reservation now, and that's fine. And I've gotten to see a lot of the world, but I don't want that to happen so quickly, because I feel like it can. And right before I met Phil, I had an opportunity to go to Mexico City for at least 2 months, and I didn't do it because I ended up in Portugal, and that's okay. It was a beautiful time, but I was just kind of evaluating what to do, and I was like, I didn't take that opportunity for myself, and it's still there, so I'm gonna do something for myself. I didn't really tell many people about it, and then it just kind of started coming to me of friends being like, oh, I'm in Mexico City. And I'm like, oh my God, say less. Like, I'm literally thinking about going. I'm looking forward to it. And actually one of my best girlfriends over the years, she is in the same spot in her life and was literally at a wedding in Mexico City and was like, I want to live here. And I was like, oh, really? So we're going together and we're going to work there for a little bit. And it's going to be great. And it's just kind of the reset I need, because I realized like the energy that I'm bringing into the world needs to be completely closed from the past, completely accepting and understanding and allowing myself to have the life I always wanted. And I'm not going to get that life if I'm carrying around some energy that is torn. This has been part of like, we're going to just go restart, and I'm excited for that. And I think it's going to be really great. And I know more people there than I do Miami right now. Like everyone is there. And I wasn't even expecting that. I was just looking for somewhere to go by myself. God had other plans. God was not going to let me be alone. So that's nice. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun there. We have so many plans, and she's really talented, and she's beautiful and smart and funny. It'll be great to be around her after a few years of not seeing her and just catching up. We're going to Mexico City. That's happening. It's happening in about 15 days. So I've been trying really hard to get together everything and just get life together, and just processing all of this. And it's kind of nice to just let it all fly and do a get ready with me where I can just talk about it and just not have any consequences of anything I want to say or anything that has happened, and just own all of it and be where I am. I'm okay with it all. It's been hard. It's definitely one of those nothing left to lose feelings. And it's definitely the feeling of like, these are my choices and I haven't gotten to make my own choices pretty much ever. That's new and that's nice. So many funny things have happened that make sense. Someone was telling me about the end of like karmic cycles, and how like my zodiac and some others were like coming into this whole new era of a 15-year cycle that's ending. And I looked at it and thought, oh my God, that is exactly about how long all of this has been going on for. Losing everyone in my family, and then having Travis's chapter closed like that for now. I mean, there's other times in life that we'll come back together in other lives and things, but in this go round, this is done. And now there's just all these other things to do. And yeah, it's really good. I'm gonna try to put on eyeliner now. I think the package apocalypse just happened outside. But yeah, let's focus on the good things that happened. So good things. Almost done with the first merch line for Surf Duke. So I think part of the package apocalypse is my first mannequin that I've ever bought. And so I'm excited to see that and use that. I'll unbox that in a second. I'm pretty sure that's just what delivered at the door. And I am sober. And I figured out my allergies. I have no mouth ulcers for the first time in 10 years. It's been about 6 months of that, which has been absolutely amazing and game-changing. I'll link below what I did. There's this test. It's only $25. And like, you know, speaking of healthcare and issues in the United States that I just kind of want a break from right now, one of them being healthcare. It's not good here at all. I think I got quoted like $450 a month for basic insurance that wouldn't cover anything. So I don't have insurance as a self-employed person. I pay out of pocket for all of my things. With my ulcers in my mouth, in my stomach, I started calling gastroenterologists around Tampa, Florida, and I was told the minimum was a 4-month wait. The actually only like human sympathetic people who were on the phone asking me like, okay, well, what exactly is your problem? What are you concerned with? And I was telling them, and they told me, they're like, well, you should just go to the emergency room. No, that sounds extreme. Like, I just want you to like put a scope down there, kind of see what's going on. Like, I live with this. Like, it's been years, decades of me having stomach problems. Like, I don't want to go to the emergency room. Like, that's your only answer here in the US. I was pretty desperate, and I was just Googling what to do because I was under the impression that I was just gluten-free, but I was still getting ulcers. I found this thing. It's USDA Food and Drug Test or something. I'll link it below. It's $25. You take 5 strands of hair, and I'm not sponsored by these people. I wish I was, because the amount of kits I've sold for them out of all of my friends' desperation, because you're just not getting real information from anywhere in America. Like, any healthcare is just not getting to the bottom of things. You go to multiple specialists. If you do have health insurance, they just keep sending you around. You're not getting answers. You're just not having holistic approaches to like, well, what's in your diet? And I know I'm not the only one saying that. Like, that is a big thing that my generation gripes about here, of like, what the hell is in our food? Like, what is causing all these issues? So, did this test. You take 5 strands of hair, you send it in, they send you back a full PDF of things that you have sensitivities to and like your rate of sensitivity to them. Ever since then, I found out I'm allergic to potato. Never knew it. And potato is next to corn of being put into everything here in the States. Ever since then, I've had no allergies to food. I am gluten intolerant and potato. And then a few other things that are kind of minor that I do need to kind of get to the bottom of, because I'll feel like my tongue swell when I have certain, like, I think basil might be one of them, but the main no-no was like, you need to stop eating potato. And I noticed in Portugal, I would only eat fish because I'm not really good at processing like the red meats that they have, because we don't really have them here. So I would only eat fish, and they don't do chicken. You don't really find chicken on many menus of traditional places. So I was doing fish a lot, so much codfish. And it would traditionally come with potato and vegetables. So that looks like a very healthy meal. And I would be chewing and I'd be eating potato, and I feel like I was like slowing down. I'd be like, I feel like I'm walking through the mud trying to eat this potato. Like, why is my mouth like just swelling up? It just all made so much sense, because I stopped eating anything that was potato based in the US, and now I just do rice based things, and it's going really well. So yeah, I got to the bottom of my allergies, and I also have been sober. At first I got sober to honor Travis's passing, because his moons take time to pass, and it's typically like 2 or 3 months. But then as his partner, you're supposed to possibly wait until the next year's corn dance, because of my feelings and what I felt was right in my journey with him. I thought that I would just honor until his birthday is October 2nd to sit with my emotions properly, because I had just been through so much loss and grief already that I thought the best thing for me personally to do right now is to remain sober and act within rational emotions, keep my mouth shut about things that I didn't agree with. It obviously helped me a lot. It's helped me clean my skin out, clean my body out, get my measurements down a little bit so that I can return to work in Mexico. It's been good for all of that. I got a Pilates machine delivered the day before he passed. I think I sat on it for 2 weeks and cried. I would just like do YouTube workouts, which there's so many good free ones, and I'll link my Pilates machine below, because I have gotten so much value out of that damn thing. Not only in just the therapy bills it's saved me. His moons did pass, and we all went to Disney, some of his close friends. I did try to drink at some of our old favorite bars around Disney World. I was fine during the daytime, and then at night I woke up with a pounding heart and started vomiting. I think that drinking is off the table for me completely, and maybe that's fine. I tried to have some wine with my best friend 2 days later after yoga. Same thing, I had a migraine for 2 days. We're just done with that, and I don't miss it. I mean, I was good for like almost 50 something days. Just tried to, you know, like cheers, we're all here together, we're all moving through the summer, it's all okay kind of thing. And it was a good time until my heart couldn't do it. And that scared me. Like, I'm at an age where I'm not gonna play that game. Yeah, that's my sobriety journey and my allergies and where I'm going, what I've been doing, how I've been doing. Thank you if you've listened this far. I know it's a lot. I just was ready to talk about it. I was ready to say, here's all the things that happened. Here's why I'm here. Here's where I'm going. Here's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I'm gonna unbox some things. I'm almost done with my makeup finally. I'm gonna use this one to fill my lips in. Lippy pencil in Oh Snap. I'm gonna use this one to overline with. This is Super Size Me from Charlotte Tilbury. Oh my God. What is it about her formulas? They feel so good. As far as work goes, I have been out on the road with a luxury car company a little bit through August. For the fall in Mexico City, I will be working with some clients down there, and then the clients that I have with my creative agency is expanding. I'm gonna be running that remotely from there. Accepting new clients. I'm relaunching that website soon. I just discovered my new color palette. I want to focus fully on my own businesses at the moment. It'll be really great to have Brittany there to bounce off of. And I think I have a whiteboard that delivered today, and that is my dream in life. Oh my God, let's go get it. Nice. Let's do some unboxing. I had a gift card with Spanx. I've made 2 orders that I'm excited about with them. I will make a link below for a coupon off your first order. Ooh. All right. Let's talk about everything I got from Spanx. Oh. It's gonna be great for the clean out that I've been doing. Let's start with the wildest thing that I could not resist. Their legendary pleather Spanx. I don't know any way other to call them other than just the Catwoman legging. So these will be so great for the fall. It's so funny because you always refer to everything as Spanx because they are like the legging, the shapewear. And so we call everything Spanx, but it's so exciting to have like the actual brand. So I started with that. It's gonna look killer. In my Michelle Pfeiffer era, I got my mommy some basics, some new tanks and things. These are the scoop neck basic tank. It's really soft. Can't go wrong with Spanx basics. This color was so cool. It was on sale. I wish I had known when it had first come out. It's this peachy color. They're a Georgia company, so I wanted to get something peachy, so I got this set. I'm very excited about that because it's obviously still very hot here. This one was like, oh. Also in the Michelle Pfeiffer era, I got a white suit dress. So excited for that. It's not easy to find clothes like this. Like, you always want this style, but you can never find it. I can still wear it in Florida or just the South in general. Every time I see a tux dress, I try to like order one, and it comes like a polyester blend or something, and it's just so heavy and hard to wear here. Also on that same vein, I needed real white undershirts. Just a staple that's so hard to find. The flexibility I can already feel in this is so good. It's tailored right. I can get rid of a few of the ones that I have. Like I have probably 3 in my closet, and you just need one good one, but it's impossible to find that one good one. So yeah, this is gonna help me just have the staple I need. I'm very excited that Spanx is still making real clothes. Like, it sounds so silly to say, but it's impossible to find. I wanted to try one of their nude bras. I always need a nude bra for work, and like I said, I've got a few that just aren't perfect. The way that this was sitting on the model looked really realistic to how bras wear on me. I need that like thicker sides so that things lay flat. Nothing bunches over it, your skin or anything like that. I want that seamless look. Obviously it's what Spanx is known for, so this is gonna be perfect. Oh, that stretch is nice. It's also ingenious to have the clasp in the front, not the back. This part of you concaves. You're not gonna have like a ridge there. In the back, a lot of the time, if you're in a white shirt or something, it's distracting. You see the bumps, and that you don't want any of your undergarments to be noticeable. Like somewhere you would be wearing a crisp white shirt. You don't really want your undergarments to be a thought at all. I'm excited. It's just so soft. I can't stop. Like, yay. And these were so fun because they're also that like Catwoman thing, but they're in a maroon. I'm excited for the fall in these. Thinking holiday parties. Skinnies are definitely coming back this fall. So that with like a cool boot, and I have so many jackets to get out. Loving it. Another fun moment that I had to try are a leather legging with a flare. I think it's all flares and skinnies this fall. It was refreshing to shop somewhere that I was like, oh, that, oh, that. Oh, look at the way that's made. That's so perfect. Look at the way it's laying on the model. That's what we want. That was my Spanx haul. Very fun. Now on to hopefully office supplies that just delivered. Let's find out. Oh, okay. My dad needed some socks, so I had a brand send him some socks. My dad recently got a walking treadmill, so I'll put that in the link below, and he wanted to do like more grounding with it. So he wanted some special socks for that. So I've decided to start taking NAD. I don't know if anyone is familiar with NAD. I've been reading a lot about it. It's really good for anti-aging and cell regeneration. I'm gonna start trying it out. I'll let you know how that's going. This company sent them to me. I will link them below. Let's go see what's in the big box. Hopefully it's my mannequin or my whiteboard. I really want that whiteboard. You don't understand. I'm a like visual person. It flips on both sides. I can put all my thoughts on it and I can organize them. And I can look at my thoughts. I need that. I need it. That's not creepy. As you can see, my Manny came. We're gonna have to get to know each other. He was a little difficult off the bat. Now I can finally finish the merch site for Surf Duke this weekend. Get that launched. I am looking for new t-shirt vendors in the Tampa Bay area. If you know any, please drop it below. I've only been able to complete about half of the order that I wanted with vendors so far. Oh, okay, cool. These were some BCBG brand socks. I've been wearing loafers a lot lately and it's hot in Florida and I sweat a lot, so I get blisters really bad. Non-slip, no-show socks. And it's a 5-pack and BCBG's on Amazon now. These are a lifesaver. And then I think this one is for my mommy. We love vintage Christmas designs. Those vintage Santas. So cute. We are fast forwarding to the holidays, wrapping up summer. I really appreciate if you've tuned in this long and kind of just listened to where things are at and where things are going. And I'd love to hear about y'all's summers too, and what are your plans for the fall? What are some trends that you think are really cool for the fall? And just your plans and any recommendations you have for any of the things I talked about in Mexico City or styling and just anything. I would love to just chat more. So thank you again. I really appreciate y'all, and I hope everything is well in your corner of the world too. Bye.